If you want a budget for this holiday season but have no idea where to start, you've come to the right channel, so keep watching. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alyssa if you don't know me already. I am very excited today because I'm actually doing a finance video, and for those who don't know or haven't seen me before, I am actually a full-time banker. That is what I do outside of YouTube. What I've kind of come to discover is that most adults do have debt right now, do have financial obligations. Money is tight for everyone. We're in a recession, so hopefully this will help you guys. So I've divided this video into 3 different parts. I have 8 tips to give you guys on holiday budgeting, and I have that broken into 2 different categories. So first I'm going to be talking about just general tips for the holiday season itself specifically, and then the other 4 tips are going to be more of mental things you can ask yourself while you're out shopping or planning for the holidays. And then lastly, I do want to actually deep dive into my own personal finances and bring you guys with, so you can put an example with numbers into the picture. I'm kind of debating on leaving my spreadsheet linked down below for you guys. If you want to use it, comment if you want it, and I can definitely add that in there for you. But let's go ahead and just jump right into the first thing I wanted to talk about, and those are just my general holiday tips for budgeting. Okay, scoot it over so there's enough room here so we can go over everything, but the very first tip that I have is going to be aware of the current market condition. So right now, as of Q4 of 2023, we are still technically in a recession, which means it is very difficult for a lot of individuals in the United States specifically. That is partly due to inflation being higher, which then in turn makes the cost of borrowing higher. So anyone who has credit card debt or needs to take out loans at this time is going to be paying a premium rate for doing so, which I suggest not doing unless you absolutely have to. And I'm sure you guys have all noticed too, even just spending money at the grocery store is so much more expensive. The cost of living, gas, like everything is just expensive. And the main point of where I'm going with this is that people are going to understand if you need to pull back a little bit. I'm not saying that you need to like be super cheap and frugal with your money this year. It just means that we're in a recession. It's okay if you don't have the extra funds right now, because a lot of people don't. The second tip that I have for you guys is going to be when it comes to specifically Christmas gifts for people. If you celebrate Christmas, just making sure that you're picking a budget that you think is appropriate and really sticking to that budget. As an example, I guess for me, the 2 people that I tend to spend the most money on during the holiday season are my boyfriend and my mom. I'd say almost every single year, those are my 2 people that I spend at least $100 on. My boyfriend honestly might be even a bit more because we tend to kind of talk about that beforehand and discuss a budget. We will go into more detail about my specific budget later, but basically, let's say I picked, for example, $300 as my holiday gift budget. I know for certain that I'm going to spend the most money on my mom and my boyfriend, and let's say I'm gonna set that at like $75 for each of them. So once I've determined that $75 is going to go to my mom and my boyfriend, that means I will be left with $150 to spend on everyone else. So they already took up half of my budget, which it's fine because in exchange we tend to work things out anyways. That means that in total, for every single person on my list, any white elephant gifts, any like work games or anything, and then I kind of just work my way until the $300 is gone. This is something that I would really recommend like writing out beforehand, either on like a notebook or in a spreadsheet, and just really keeping track of who your prioritized spending is going to go to and how much will be left over for those kind of like random $10 gifts that you are required to bring for a game or something. Now this next tip is a little bit obvious in my opinion, but it's just going to be, do not let holiday spending on others besides yourself get in the way of you paying your own bills, your own debt, your own savings, or your own investments if you are able to do so. I need to prioritize $50 that maybe I would have spent a little bit extra on each person's gift for, or for like a cute outfit, and I really need to think about if that is necessary over my bills, because that is something I have kind of gotten in trouble with in the past. I will say too, just as a disclaimer, things do change once you are out of college and once you actually start making like a set amount of money each month. And then from there, I know like there's gonna be no free extra money flowing in from the state or anything, or for birthdays or getting good grades or anything. Like, everything that I make is 100% on me, so I need to make sure I'm paying my bills first. Last thing I will put in this category that, once again, if I could tell my college self, would be do not put gifts on a credit card. If you can't afford to pay it with a debit card or money that you already have, you really cannot purchase gifts for people, unfortunately. It sucks to say, and it is very blunt, but you have to kind of find cheaper ways to get people gifts or maybe make something. And this is a hard truth that, like, I've had to come to terms with too, of if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. It sucks because you always see people online posting all these glamorous, fun, cool, pretty things, and you can find a way to do it, but maybe not on quite a budget as some other people. Do not put that on a card, because what you're gonna end up doing is paying like 25 to 35% on top of what you just spent, and then you're also gonna have to deal with it in like January, February, March. That's not very fun. So those are all of the tips that I can come up with that are like holiday specific, and now I just want to take the time to go into little things that I've kind of taught myself if I'm physically in a store about to make an impulse purchase. So the first mental thing or mental hack that I've kind of undertaken in the past year is if I really like an item in the store, I will just take a picture of it on my phone and like send it to people on Snapchat or something. That way I'm getting the serotonin out of my body of being like, look at this cool item I found, I really like this. And then by me taking a picture and sending it to either my mom, my best friend, or my boyfriend or someone, I'm releasing into the world that I found a cool thing and that I like it and it's cute or something. I tend to do that a lot in like Home Goods or Target, which honestly I try to stay out of if I can, but if I'm going to go into those kinds of stores, I honestly just take a picture of everything. And chances are that if you are not thinking about it constantly after you leave for the next like week, you really don't need it. And that actually brings me to my next tip on the mentality side of things, which is if you really like something, put it again in a spreadsheet or write it down in your notes app or on a notebook or something with the price or the link to it or just like a description of the item. And if you really still think about it 10 days later, or you look back 10 days later and it's still like, yes, I absolutely would love to have that, then I would say it is a justified purchase if you still are thinking about it that long after. Again, that is something that I really struggled with when I had my compulsive shopping disorder, and no one like told me that I had that. I just kind of self-identified that I do have a problem. I did get into credit card debt personally because of just spending on random stuff I didn't need. I think my mentality has changed a little bit as well since graduating, because now that I'm settled into the townhouse that I'll probably be in for a few years, storage is really something that I have to consider, and where things are going to go if they're seasonal items, for example. Because it's kind of difficult to store a bunch of holiday decor if you are only going to use it for like 2 months out of the year. So really just thinking like, is it worth it to keep that stuff in my house the other times of the year? I don't know. Once again, this train of thought leads perfectly into my next tip, which is a year from now, am I going to get the same amount of joy out of this item? Something similar to this would be something that I kind of keep going through as my style keeps changing of, would this item, let's say for example, this candle holder, would this item look good in each aesthetic in my house, like each room in my house? If the answer is yes, then I would say, yeah, that's fine to get, because it's more than likely going to be something that you can use as a multi-purpose decor piece or something. Whereas this, for example, is a little Halloween specific picture frame, and honestly this is just gonna go right into a storage bin, and it's not gonna look good in every room in my house either. It is fine to have a few decor items, but I do think just taking a look at a year from now, would this look good still? Will I get excited about it still? And does it go with every room in my house? Not to say you can't have different themed rooms, that's just kind of something I personally tell myself when I'm like in the store shopping. The last tip that I have for the mental side of things is going to be kind of the guilt that comes with not being able to afford gifts. I personally do have family members that have expressed to me like, hey, I can't afford this year, and that is completely fine, and I am not judging them for it. If you ever think that you're going to be judged because you're not able to buy like a good enough gift for someone, try to think of it the other way around. So let's say you're my friend, for example, and I came to you a couple weeks before Christmas and said, just so you know, you're gonna be Jessica. Just so you know, Jessica, like, I'm kind of struggling right now and I really need to prioritize my own savings and just make sure I'm paying my own bills and things on time. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to have a girls' night or something where we can just stay in and bake cookies and watch a movie, but I can't really afford to do gifts this year. Are you gonna be mad at me for saying that? No, you're not, because I'm giving you a justified reason, and unless you, Jessica, have already bought like a $200 gift randomly, which in my opinion, I do think you should discuss budgets beforehand with people. Anyways, my point is just that if you are someone who is struggling, it's okay. Like, literally no one cares. I'd rather spend the time with you anyways. So just putting that out into the world, that if you ever have to feel like you need to buy something to prove you're worth enough or something, every single person is in a different financial spot. It is nothing to be ashamed of, and honestly, a couple years down the road, you may be able to do something, or they might not be able to now. So just something to think about. Sorry if it's loud in the background. My heater just decided it's gonna be busting out some heat. So that is everything tip wise or advice wise that I wanted to share. So now I really want to just dive into my personal finances, and yes, you guys will get to see my bills, my income, everything. I'm just laying it straight out on the table for you. Hopefully you can learn from it. So let's head over to my desk. Welcome to my desk. So like I said in the beginning, I am working on an Excel spreadsheet, and if you like kind of what I'm doing, definitely make sure to let me know below, and I could certainly link it for you if you wanted to download the template yourself and kind of put your own numbers in. Now I'm gonna start with showing what my estimated income for the months of November and December are going to be, since those are typically the 2 months of which most holiday spending occurs. And I know that kind of later, when it's around Thanksgiving time, Black Friday deals really start to get popular. This is not me trying to brag about how much I make. I feel like I make about the middle income of what most Americans do, so do with that information what you will. If you're my coworkers and you're watching this video, stop watching this video. You don't need to know what I make. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in, and I'll show you guys kind of my estimated income versus my expenses and how I'm budgeting those expenses. Alright, so we are kind of at a weird angle. Sorry for that, but I am going to screen record for you guys so you can see what I'm seeing on my screen. So this is what I created as my holiday budget little spreadsheet, and this is just on Google Docs. So if you have a Gmail account, you can make one as well or use my copy. So as you can see, I have multiple categories on here. First things first, we can start on this side. This is kind of just general ideas, not really any numbers yet, but this is just any monthly goals that I have for I guess November and December for the holidays. And so monthly goal for me would be pay debt. Not me thinking of like no goals. Going to be work hard to bypass my goals. And I know that's not really like related to what I'm specifically doing right now, but other goals, just spend time with family, and I want to finish a book that I'm currently reading, which honestly I don't really like the book that much. It's called Work Party. I think that the girl who wrote it, her story of how she created her business is really nice, but when it comes to the way she wrote it, it's just not really my style. So I'm kind of like forcing myself to read it because I paid like $12 for the book though, so I'm like, I might as well read it. Moving down, I do have my bucket list, and this is kind of things that I would like to do within November and December. One thing I am going to put in there right away is actually around Christmas itself. My boyfriend and I are going up to a cabin up north in Minnesota and spending the week with his family. So I guess one thing on my bucket list would be the cabin trip. So no, I did not pre-think anything before I'm doing this, so sorry if my brain is like not really making any sense. What's another thing? I would like to get a cute photo for, what are those called? Like holiday cards? Like cards? Another thing on my bucket list would be Christmas movie night. as I already talked about earlier in this video. That's pretty much everything I can think of right now that is related specifically to the holidays. The wish list category relates to my tips I was telling you guys earlier, so some things that I really have been in the market for or thinking about will go into this category, and so one of those things would be a new Christmas tree itself. My boyfriend and I, we do live together now, and so we have a very small, tiny little tree that's only like 3 feet tall and kind of looks ridiculous in the giant living room. So I think that it's finally time and appropriate to get a new one. I personally don't want to spend more than $100 on this, so whether it's we're splitting the cost and both doing 100, or if I'm able to find one on maybe like Facebook Marketplace on sale or something. I've really enjoyed those little like gingerbread scenes that people kind of have sitting on a shelf or something, so I would like to get a ceramic gingerbread. I don't want to spend a ton on that. I think my absolute like most I would want to spend on that would be about like $40 or $50 right now. This is like a wish list item. I don't think it'll be in my budget this year, but I would like to have a new snowboard because mine actually is snapped in half. So that's like $500. I don't really foresee that being something I do this year, but I'm just putting it out there that, hey, Alyssa, you said you want this. Is that something you really still want? All these years later, yes it is, so I'm just gonna keep it on there for now. So now this is kind of the fun category where you guys get to see me actually put my numbers in, and again, this is kind of an estimate of what I will be making over the next 2 months, and obviously anything could happen. I could get into a car accident and have to go to the hospital and I don't have an income, or maybe I would get a bonus at the end of the year. I'm not really 100% sure. I do have a bonus factored into this. I did kind of lowball it, so it's not really something I'm going to be taking into consideration for if I do get more than my allotted amount that I'm estimating. So I think that this would be an appropriate number at this time for me to put for the next 2 months. Now that may seem like a decent amount, like, hey Alyssa, you have $7 grand to play with. Not really, because right below that we're gonna jump into my mandatory expenses that I need to pay, and it's kind of a lot, I'm not gonna lie. It is about 50% of my income, just for like my mandatory things, and then below I do have my debt and savings and investment section as well. But I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in this section here. If you're newer to Excel and don't really know how to use like the functions to calculate anything, it's going to be equal sign. My rent each month, since I split with my partner John, it's going to be about $8.15 each month, and we're doing it for 2 months. So hit enter there, and that is what my rent will be for the next 2 months. So next on here I have my car insurance, and that is going to be about $204 each month, and then I'm doing it for 2 months. Same with my actual car payment. And it is so expensive to have a vehicle, like for all of these extra little things you have to pay. It's ridiculous, honestly. Phone bill is about $60 a month right now. Actually no, I think it just went up. I think it's like $69 a month for 2 months. And renter's insurance I just had to start paying for, and that is about $17. Those are all of my bills that I absolutely have to pay each month. So then jumping down into my debt, savings, and investment category, this part is kind of like up to me and what I want to set it at each month. No one is forcing me to pay the amount that I'm paying for these things. It's kind of just something that you have to force yourself to do, and I honestly kind of debated just putting this entire section into my mandatory expenses, because this is something that I do hold myself to a standard of just making sure I'm on track and paying. So for student loans, I actually do not have to pay them as of right now while I'm filming this, but they are starting back up in December, so I think my estimated payment is like $175, I want to say. I'll have to relook into that. It's been a while, but I think that's what it is. And then right below it, I do have quite a bit of credit card debt. I have about $4,000 on there, and I am on a payment plan for that, so we've converted it to a personal loan, and so my payments are $350 each month, so $700 over the 2-month period. I do also owe my mom like $1,000, so not like a ton, but I do just want to consistently keep paying her back if I can. and then each time I get paid I give her $100, so we're gonna do $200 times 2, so $400 to my mom. I recently did just set up my account on Robinhood so that I can start investing into some stocks, because I'm not gonna get deep into the woods about it, but from a financial investor kind of side of things, we are in a recession, so lending is more expensive, but this is a great time to buy into the market because you're buying at a discount and then the price tends to go up. So I just thought that this would be an appropriate time to kind of start reinvesting money. I don't have a ton going in here. I just set it up so $25 each month will go into it, so $50. And then the last thing on here is my savings, and I do make it a point to put away $200 each month as my bare minimum to ensure I'm on track for buying a home in like many years down the road. But yeah, that's my amount that I have for all my bills. So now if anyone is curious, I am just going to put the total amount for each of these categories so you can see like actually how much I need to spend out of pocket, like for sure each month. We're going to do the sum of these. So now if I took the total of both of those amounts, this is going to be the number that is my total expenses that I've created for myself each month. Not a ton is really left over after all that. $2,750. And that has to last me for all of these categories over here throughout the entire holiday season. I know this seems like a high number, the $7,200, but it does go pretty quickly when I do have debt and bills to pay. And I'm personally not a believer in if you have any debt, like you can't spend any money. I think really as long as you're making reasonable payments towards debt, you should be able to live your life as well. Obviously don't like take on more debt or not be able to make your payments or something. I just feel like if it's manageable debt and you're able to make your payments, who honestly really cares what you do with the rest of it? So now moving into the food slash self-care slash fun category. Kind of a lot of stuff in here, but I didn't really know what else to call like that whole section. On average, I will say each week I probably spend about like 100 to 150 on food. I think like 120 would be a great place to average it out. So for November and December, there's about 9 weeks total in the month, and I spend about 120 each week on food and grocery. So that is quite a high expense, as you can see, just for food each month. Now going down to this decorations part, this is really where I consider my wish list items that I've been wanting for a while, and I'd say in total I would like to spend less than $150 on this if possible. I feel like that probably isn't realistic for me though. I'm just kind of doing this on the fly, so sorry if I don't think things out ahead of time, but I know me and I know I'm gonna want to get ornaments and things and maybe like a mug, I don't know. So actually I'm gonna bump that up to like $225. Clothing, honestly, I think I've set myself up in the past couple years pretty well with my current wardrobe, so I don't need any clothes right now. Not to say I won't buy like a cute headband or sweater if there's like an appropriate one on sale or one that I'm like obsessed with. So I'm gonna say $50 towards that just because. So for the hygiene category, this is honestly going to be like anything related to like self-care. I'm not gonna try to go super crazy, but I do need to get like a new face lotion. This would be things like deodorant, mascara, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, those kinds of things. I don't really know what a good budget would be for that. I'm just trying to think of like each week how much I spend, and I'd say on average probably like $20. So whatever that is times the 9 weeks. So 180, which that does sound about like what I would do. Now I do have hair appointments every single month scheduled for the rest of the year. I kind of think it's a little bit unnecessary. On average, usually it's like $130 for appointment. So that would be $260. Now gas, again, ties into my whole rant about how much it is to just drive a vehicle. Each week I tend to get gas either 1 or 2 times. I'm gonna stay on the conservative side and say I only am getting gas once a week, and it's about $35 each time. So that would be $315. And this is the part where I'm getting kind of concerned about how much I have left in my budget, but we'll see when it gets to that point. Last but not least, this is going to be for any activities that I do, so like ice skating or going to a movie, just kind of like random things. Over the course of 2 months, I'd say I probably spend like $150 on those things. And now I would like to see how much I have spent on all of that first before I move on to the next thing. Okay, so as you can see, this is where it gets tricky because even though my income is decently high, all of these things take up a lot of it. So I'm really gonna have to think hard about my holiday budget. So this will be the amount that I have left over for holiday gifts, supplies, or miscellaneous, and honestly, this is better than I thought it was going to be. We are like right on track of what I thought it would be in my head. I think my total budget for gifts this year is going to be about $300. That leaves me with $191 for supplies or miscellaneous things. I think supplies will probably be about like $75, and then that's actually perfect because whatever is remaining after that can go into my miscellaneous category. So that is everything on my little budget. So now that we have sat through and budgeted, went over tips and tricks for budgeting this holiday season, hopefully this is helpful in some way, shape, or form for you. I love shopping, and honestly that's one of my favorite things to do this time of year, so definitely make sure to subscribe if you want to stick around and see what I get people for the holidays. I'm planning on doing a Amazon gift guide pretty soon here before Black Friday, and then on Black Friday I plan on doing a haul of things that I pick up. I'll probably go shopping with a friend or something, so make sure to stick around if you guys want to see that. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this helped, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.